So you've all explained and described what you think progressive leadership looks like. Who is a progressive leader in this assembly? Who would you pick? Point somebody out to us. Tell us who you think is a great leader. Roberta.
Oh dear. A 14-year-old young man by the name of Phelan Kipnosway, who is the youngest ever to receive our Culture, Heritage and Spirituality Award this year. You may know him as the young man who drummed Trudeau and his cabinet into Rideau Hall when they were sworn in. Here is a young man who is confident in his history and culture. He speaks his language. He teaches others. He created the first ever student powwow in Ottawa. Top 25 influential people in the city of Ottawa. There is a leader at that very young age. I also have grandmothers who are leaders, or who we would call Dodigs. I'm not immediately pointing you to an elected political leader for a reason, because I think we have amazing leaders in every sector of society. And I think we need to acknowledge that.
Okay, you don't get one. Bob, who would you describe?
I have about 50 bright young tradeswomen who are part of our Build Together program. They are going to schools and telling people about a career in the trade. They're working at their trade, they're getting through it. They maintain themselves in the face of adversity. They sometimes have to stare down the biggest, meanest guy in the place. Remember the guy chewed his face?
And that's like tobacco, right? So
That's tobacco,
okay. Yeah. Okay.
Comes in the Copenhagen can.
Okay, gotcha.
They are swimming against the tide and doing something that people don't think is very ladylike. Truth is, they're smarter than the young boys we get. You know, a young boy will go get a bigger hammer. They will think their way through it. If we tell them this is what the equipment will do, that's what they'll make it do. They won't do more. They will be a lady in the lunchroom and a worker on the gang. They will be a mom. They will be all of those things that we expect them to be and more. So if you've got a daughter who's captain of the volleyball team, who is on the debating team, get the School Spirit Award and is an honor student, we got a place for her in the trade. And it's a great place.
I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Hazel McCallion. But truly, thinking about fearless leaders, this was a woman who bucked the trends in so many respects, whether it was in business, in politics, in women's hockey. I think we all know more about women's hockey because of Fran Ryder and because of Hazel McCallion, who still ties up her skates and goes on the rink every New Year's levy that we host. So she certainly bucked a lot of trends and was very progressive and built our city and her vision. There is a young woman in Mississauga I want to acknowledge, and many of you will have read about her because she was on the cover of Toronto Life magazine, and her name is Sama Zafar. And she is a Pakistani Muslim woman from a very traditional home, very traditional family, basically sold into a marriage into Canada on the pretext that she would be able to continue her education here, would receive a better education, the new family would support it. Got here, found out it was completely a myth. She was relegated to the basement to have children, no education, got pregnant right away, and was abused verbally, mentally, and physically, the whole thing. And found her way out. And is such an inspiration and is such a beacon of light for so many women in these oppressive marriages. And so I'm just delighted her story has been featured on Toronto Life. She's out on the speaking circuit. There's a book coming out now. But she's done what a lot of women, particularly of that culture, of that faith, were unable to do, to break those ties, to leave that abusive husband, leave the culture, leave the religion, be called every name, in the book about what you're doing, how wrong it is. And what a, scarlet A woman that you are, to leave the abusive relationship and start over on her own. She was babysitting children in her she found out when she went to U of T, she's a brilliant student, by the way, gold medalist, I think, at RBC today, found out what an abusive relationship means just by a poster on a washroom wall. You know, you felt any of these symptoms, are you abused in any of these ways? And she went to the guidance counselor and realized that was her life. And they helped her come out of it. So she's a guiding light and a really progressive leader, and a role model for so many women. So she's an inspiration to us all. And of course, Hazel, the women in politics in Canada today really couldn't have achieved the heights we have if it hadn't been for women like Hazel to have, to been that trailblazer.
Yeah. Victor, who would you say?
A public figure that comes to mind that I grew up with is Terry Fox.
Oh, wow.
Because
These are
Terry
so
Fox
interesting.
is someone that he inspired a whole nation to work hard, to raise money, and to give your time to causes that you believe in that are progressive. Solving the diseases that we're talking about solving are progressive causes as well. He inspired many, and he's inspired us at CIBC in terms of what is today the Run for the Cure. I think the seeds of much of what Terry Fox did at his very young age, and he died at a very young age. So we don't really know what he stood for, but he stood for perseverance, and he stood for a vision, and he achieved so much, if not on his own, for the rest of the country. For myself, I always look to my team. They're the unsung heroes of the bank that are trying to transform Canadian banking. They're right here with me today. They all play incredibly important roles. They came here because they wanted to be here. They came here because of what we believe in. And CIBC is an important member of the Canadian business community, an important member of the Canadian community, is remaking Canadian banking. We've been around for 150 years. And while everybody would sometimes want to wake up and yell and scream at their bank, sometimes I yell and scream at myself and I look myself in the mirror. We play a vital importance to society. And one of the things that Canada should take great pride in is the strength and stability of its banking system. And that is happening because of the great men and women who work at CIBC.
Cool. Okay, very good. Julia.
Well, I have so many women role models, and a number of them are sitting in this room today, and someone like Eleanor Kaplan, who I've been watching since I was like 18, and the people who've been just real forces in politics. And any of you put yourself out for elected office, I'm in awe of you, because I don't have that in me, I don't think. But the people we've been working with, I've been working with the Futurepreneur for the last 5 years, are the young people who give me a huge amount of hope about the future. And one that stands out today, perhaps it's because you, Roberta, is a young guy named Kendall Netmaker, who's from Sweetgrass First Nation in Saskatchewan. And he grew up on a reserve. He went to school and had a great young friend who said, why don't you come and do sports with me after school? And Kendall said, I have no way of getting there. My family has no money for equipment. So this young guy whose family had come to Canada from South Africa said, we're going to pay for you to do sports. And we went drive him. And he ended up going to university, getting a teaching degree, a phys ed degree, started teaching, and then decided the entrepreneurial spirit was too big. So in his 20s with 3 little kids, he set up a business, and it's called Nietzsche here. It's like the roots of the Indigenous world.
He's one of our role models, actually. He's an outstanding.
Well, and that's why I wanted to mention him, because here's this guy. He's the perfect role model of somebody who is entrepreneurial. He's going to go for it. He's going to reinvent himself over and over. But the very best part is immediately he said, I have to give back and bring along people with me, which to me is everything. And he said, I'm going to hold myself out as a model for young Indigenous people about how you can be entrepreneurial. He speaks. He goes all around the world. I went with him to Dubai, where he competed to be Young Entrepreneur of the World internationally. He was phenomenal, and so I think as a progressive leader, he's everything we want. He's bright, he's going for it, and he's bringing along people with him to do things that I don't think they would do otherwise. So he really is a hero to me.
That was so interesting. I was expecting, angular vertical, I don't know, Hillary Clinton, something like that. And you guys all came up with these really, really interesting people. Okay.